Three of the most important terms in this context are stereotypes, prejudice, and discrimination. And they all involve kind of different elements of our psychology and different types of phenomena. So you can think of stereotypes as being like the cognitive component to do with thoughts and beliefs. You can think of prejudice to be doing with the affective component, that is our emotions, our feelings. And you can think of discrimination be to do with the behavioral element or our actions. So to take an example, so if you think of stereotypes, they're really our beliefs about a group of people, and that group could be anyone. So we might have a stereotype about British people, for example. We might think British people, they love to drink tea, and they like cricket, and they are emotionally unavailable, right? So that would be like a stereotype you might have about British people. Now, so you'll notice some of the things, like some of those things might be positive, some of them might be negative. The other thing is some of them might be true, some of them may not be true. They might be true as a group, but not, or untrue as a group. So those are essentially stereotypes. These sort of just, do we understand how this group is seen? Even if we know it's not true, we may still understand what the stereotype is. So you might have a stereotype, for example, about lawyers. Perhaps you think like lawyers are greedy. That is a stereotype people have about lawyers. The next is prejudice, right? So this is how do you feel about that group, all right? So how do you feel? Do you generally feel positively or do you generally feel negatively about that group? And it's possible that the prejudice comes out of a stereotype, out of your beliefs. The feelings come from the beliefs, but they don't always do so.
Yeah, so we might think of an example where someone might have a positive stereotype or, something that appears positive. This comes up, for example, in sort of model minority stereotypes. This group is very good at math, or this group is, very hardworking. But those positive stereotypes can sometimes motivate sort of negative feelings of prejudice if you feel like you're in competition with that group, or even if you don't even know why. A lot of times our feelings aren't even necessarily clearly connected to what we know about someone. So we might think, oh, I have a general approach or avoid tendency towards them, even if I'm not really sure what the underlying belief is that motivates one of those sorts of things.
And then the next phase is discrimination. So this is the actual kind of ways you might treat people with your actions differently. So let's take the example I talked about before. Like you may think, right, you may have the stereotype that lawyers are greedy, right? So then your prejudice will be that therefore I don't like lawyers, and then you might have the actual discrimination. Okay, I'm not going to hang out with lawyers. I'm not going to hire lawyers, or something like that, right? So they're quite different in the different components that they contain.